let's talk about the Aubrey Marcus situation and his Radical Monogamy Podcast. Now, I'm sure you've already seen the podcast or seen many reaction videos by this time. I know I have. It's been very fascinating, so I'm not gonna, or at least I'm going to attempt not to go over things that have already been thoroughly discussed already. I wanna focus less on Aubrey Marcus and Vylana and Alana, the throuple situation, where they're essentially framing polyamory as this unique take on monogamy, when in reality we can kind of all see that that's bullshit. That's neither here nor there. I think it's best to take a bird's eye view of the whole situation and perceive it, in my opinion, as a Shakespearean drama or play, as Vylana, Alana, Aubrey Marcus, and Dr. Gafni are all characters in this scene, in this hour-and-a-half little play that they have called the Radical Monogamy Podcast, or whatever the actual name for it was. So we have our cast, we have our characters, right? And they're being fed this script from some negative entity who's very powerful and seems to find its way into spiritual circles many times and produces things like cults. Now, Aubrey seems aware enough to not let it get to a Jonestown situation or a Manson situation, but the energy it's the same vibe. It's operating close to the same frequency. But when I was watching that podcast, all I was thinking about was pedestals and power, or you could also just say hierarchy and superiority. Because I'm going to flip it a little bit and say that a lot of the responsibility lies on us, the people in general. Because we constantly have these situations where these people, usually men, in positions of power, abuse it. And then all of us act surprised when we find out that they've abused the pedestal that we've placed them on. Not noticing that perhaps, obviously, these individuals are flawed, but also the system itself must be flawed if it continues to keep producing this shit, this abuse of power. Now, I'm not saying it's directly one-to-one, not trying to say that this is, I'm separating Aubrey Marcus from this particular point I'm about to make, but we see this in the Diddy trial, with Trump, Epstein, Weinstein, right? People in these positions of power abusing it, and then we act surprised. But why are you surprised? Why are we surprised when we say they think that they're above the law or they're better than everyone else? Well, it's like, yeah, when you treat somebody like they're better than everyone else, and when you put them above the law, they're gonna feel that way. It's a product of the way that we treat them. People will meet a celebrity and start crying next to their spouse. The person that they've created a life with, sometimes they'll drop their entire relationship of years to be with this famous person, the person they look up to, for a night. Meanwhile, from that famous person's perspective, that's girl or guy number 100, and they don't even remember their name. But to that person, oh my God, I met this famous person. Oh my God, I met Trump, I met Diddy, I met The Weeknd, I met this famous person, Frank Ocean, and you start crying. People will meet their mother after years of not seeing her and cry less than somebody who meets a celebrity for the first time, or even multiple times. Look at the Chris Brown photo shoots, okay? So it's on us to stop putting these people on pedestals and power positions over us, these superiority positions. Because the more that you look up to these people, see them as this divine manifestation of the feminine or masculine, people are calling Aubrey Marcus, He was a representation of the divine masculine. It's like, no, his name's Aubrey. He's Aubrey. He's a guy with tattoos. And a cool podcast and some amazing guests and provides some wisdom on occasion. He's just a dude. Vylana, oh my gosh, she's a goddess. Vylana is a woman who's working through her own insecurities and working through her own energies and is beautiful from my perspective, and I think a lot of people's perspective. Seems to be intelligent, but also has her own wounds. She's a human being. She puts one foot in front of the other when she moves forward. She takes a shit on a Tuesday. It's not that deep. Alana, cute girl. She seems a lot of pixie nymph energy. Also, regular human being. She was a model, so objectively attractive to most people. I wouldn't disagree, but she's just a girl. I don't know. He's just a dude. They're just girls. Women, whatever. Not to be, offensive, but you get the point. They're just people, intelligent monkeys walking around with less hair. So when we forget that we're all human and that these people that we look up to, again, why are we looking up to people? We look up to, they're also human. We fuel this false guru narrative. People perceive Aubrey as this false guru. From what I know, I don't remember him calling himself a guru. Now, the way he carries himself, the way he presents himself and frames himself, there is that I'm a guru energy. Fair. But that's on us and everybody around who's fueling these people and feeding their egos through our attention, admiration, desire that is unfounded. It's not reciprocal. There's no need to be putting anyone on a pedestal or admiring somebody unless they are your wife or your husband or your kids or your parent, someone who loves you back. If you're sitting in your room with your hands on your face and your legs kicking up and down, admiring this person as if they're the love of your life and they don't even know you exist, that's a problem. You're giving them your power. We need to observe Aubrey, Alana, and Vylana, in my opinion, as wounded actors, like I said before, playing out their own karma that they've accumulated over many lifetimes. Aubrey's got his own karma he's burning, Alana, Vylana, it takes three to tango though. A lot of people are focusing on Aubrey and his part, which I understand he's in the power position, but Vylana and Alana have autonomy. They are all part of the same dance. Dr. Gafni, man, he's weird, I'm not gonna lie. I love to though, because there's a lot of spiritual, I guess I'm part of the spiritual community, but a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to judge. That nigga goofy. Dr. Gafni, look up his past, it's weird. He's weird. So let me just leave it at that. I'm not gonna go too much into him. He was odd to me. He was like a dark magician. He had some weird, out of everyone, I'm like, I don't like him. Personally, projecting, sure. I don't fuck with that dude. So, we're all wounded actors. We all are. And so we're just observing Aubrey, Vylana, and Alana in their wounded play of figuring out their own shit, which is okay, right? But we need to observe how it got there, and it's not like Aubrey waved a magic wand and brainwashed everybody. People voluntarily gave up their power over the course of many, many years. And they're still doing it now, even now, by feeling disappointed by the fact that, this dude was leaving breadcrumbs the entire time. This should not be a shock to anybody who's been paying attention to his energy and the way he talks about sex and relationships. It should not be a surprise. And let the man do his thing. Vylana, she's suffering. It's unfortunate. Hopefully, she becomes aware of what needs to happen for her to heal and transform. But she's being tested. Alana's being tested. Aubrey's being tested. It seems like they're failing because they're gonna have to probably relearn this again in this incarnation or the next, but I'm sure that there's gonna be another test. This right here, all of us making videos about it is a test. We'll see what happens. But this concludes with everybody becoming their own inner guru. Instead of placing other people on pedestals, don't place anyone on pedestals. And if you have to, make it somebody that loves you back, that knows you exist and you have a close relationship with. It's still not the healthiest, but we're human and we do have this innate desire to perceive the world in hierarchies. So if you're going to look up to somebody, at least have them directly in your life and they know that you exist. If it's a mentor, a parent, a partner, a friend, even kids, and vice versa, if you're gonna have to do it, please not an internet personality or a singer or they just provide a service. That's it. You say thank you for the guidance and you move on. Imagine these spiritual people, right? I mean, even me to a certain degree, we're just guides. Okay? Imagine you're going for a hike and you stop and you ask for directions from somebody. And they say, oh yeah, I've already walked the trail that you've walked. You wanna go down here, you wanna make a left, and then, once you see that sign posted, the half mile, you're a half mile away and you just keep following the trail, right? Or, oh, you've gone the wrong direction, you wanna turn around and go this way. I've walked these trails before. That's what a guide, a spiritual guru kind of does, is I've walked this path before, this is how you do it. Now imagine if you ask for directions from somebody who walked the same path as you before you, and you start crying when you meet them. Oh my God, you're the best. You're amazing. You're so much better than me because you've hiked this path before. It's like they might just be older than you, or they just live in Arizona where the trail is, or they live wherever that trail is and they just have the opportunity to hike it all the time because they were born closer. It's the same thing with our spiritual journey, our personal self-development process. There is no need to place these people on a pedestal just because they've walked the same path you're walking before you. You can appreciate them, you can thank them, you can pay them for their service, for giving you directions, but there is no need to kiss the feet and kiss the ground that they walk on. Unless they are truly enlightened and are actually your guru, then fair. But we're not talking about that. So focus on finding your own inner guru, your own inner power, your own source of guidance, your own wisdom. It's in there. We all have access to it. That's the key. That's the lesson, in my opinion, we can learn from this Aubrey Marcus situation and his throuple. That is not a throuple, but is. And just keeping it simple, it's all about the pyramid, the hierarchy, the more masculine way of viewing the world. Feminine would be circular, this kind of community-based, more egalitarian way of existence. But over time, we've come very patriarchal, very masculine in the way that we perceive reality and build societies. Aubrey Marcus, in this scenario, is at the top. Alana, Vylana. Then you have the spiritual influencers below them, based off of this hierarchy. Again, even in this process, I'm seeing people talking about how amazing and powerful Alana or Vylana is. I'm not saying that they're not, but the way that they're being portrayed is if it's like they deserve better energy, and if they deserve better, then they would get better. They have their own karma they're burning off with Aubrey for whatever reason. Right? For real. Let's just be real. If you deserve better, then you get it. Who decides who deserves what? You? Me? How do we know that a person deserves better? We don't. We don't know their incarnations, their karma, the lessons they need to learn in this lifetime. You know who does know if they deserve better or not? Their higher self. God. Not you or me. And the spiritual influencers then prop up Alana Vylana, and people like Alana and Vylana prop up someone like Aubrey because he has money and power. This big, strong, masculine man. Hey, look, I'm not gonna act surprised, but you gotta see through the veil, you gotta see through the illusion. And then you have the general public propping everything up to make this super unhealthy hierarchy of superiority and power, placing this man on a pedestal when he's just a dude. That simple. So let's not act surprised when the people we treat like divine beings start believing that they're divine beings. They got the validation, they're gonna live it out. So this is a quote from David R. Hawkins, who wrote the book Power vs. Force, which you can get on Amazon. Amazing book. And he talks about the difference between power and force. And so what we think of as power actually in this scenario too is more of a force, hierarchy, superiority. But true power, he will explain. Force can bring satisfaction, but only power brings joy. Victory over others brings us satisfaction. So this is what Aubrey's experiencing, this victory over others. His followers, Vylana, Alana, using Dr. Gafni as like this weird spiritual justification, this power source of negative energy. But what he's not doing is victory over ourselves brings us joy. That's how you know if somebody is worth listening to and following. Are they able to, inhibit is not the right word, but process their desires, their carnal desires, their humanness, their flaws, and still move with integrity, with honesty, and with consistency. This is something I am very much working on. It is difficult. If I was in Aubrey's position, I would like to pretend that I would be able to not be a dude who sleeps around. But you don't know until you're in that position. All I know is right now, I believe in monogamy and love it. And I want nothing else. I don't know his position. I don't know what it's like. But we can just observe and see, interesting. This seems like a man who is not working to overcome his selfish desires. It doesn't seem like he's willing to give up his own egoic needs. And it seems like he's doing that at the expense of these women's personal needs. And they're also facilitating this process by giving up their own power. It is a process that involves all parties, and we are watching it, so we should learn from it.